rest or digest, which is the counterpoint by the autonomic nervous system, which is not working correctly in 90% of the people you know right now. And in these times, I bet that's gone up another 10%, maybe 20%. So it was probably about 70%. Now it's about 90 or 80, who are in constant fight or flight mode. And they can look healthy. They can go to the gym every day. They can look great to you, but they've got sleep interruption, maybe some digestive issues, maybe some regularity issues, and they have anxiety. And maybe they think it's nothing to take a little drug for that, when in fact, the minute and the day that they would regain that function of leptin by the hypothalamus, the receptors in the brain, on that day, they would feel calm again. It's like a light switch. And that's what I've been observing amazingly in coaching in person, on site, around the world, 120 groups, retreat groups at this point. And I mean, I've done Iceland and Germany and Scotland and Tuscany and all over Hawaii, all over the United States, Costa Rica, many other places, Vienna, Venice. And what is amazing is that when I live along with people, I have the rare opportunity to see exactly how they respond to this protocol that I developed. And the foremost clinical expert, as if it wasn't enough of a coincidence that I face-to-face met the guy who injected rodents with leptin after I had harnessed it for 4 years. I remember thinking, by the way, when I met him, like, whatever you figured out is nothing like this, because they just focused on weight. And I already had every single thing in my body, 10 dress sizes come off of me effortlessly after 12 years of an eating disorder, making me white knuckle my way through every single day. All of my autoimmune, my canker sores, the tartar on my teeth, the crepey eyelids, the peeling, eczema that peeled right there. And I couldn't use regular makeup, and there was oozing and tissue paper skin right there. All of that stuff gone. My dizziness on standing gone, my horrible energy, being called human pear and worse names throughout the first half of my life. My estrogen dominance being the cause of being called a human pear, because that's how I was shaped. And all of these other things, just absolute non-participation in life, because I was very big on the bottom of my body, somewhat big on the top of my body. And so that was my story. So if that wasn't enough of a coincidence to meet the guy who injected this stuff into mice, 10 years later, on a book signing, I met the foremost clinical expert on leptin, and also at that time, the #1 insulin expert. And if you may be familiar with Dr. Joseph Mercola, the guy who was his mentor, showed up at the end of my book signing, ready to do book signings for his book, which had an incorrect dietary application, by the way, to long-term regaining function of leptin, but he's the science guy. And he really is very good at explaining all of the science, and there's tons of it. I mean, there were 7,000 studies on leptin then, 27,000 studies now. And it does so much more than even what I just went through. You can go head to toe. Your skin will be unrecognizable. You know, your skin will be all glowy and thick. Your teeth completely change. I haven't been to a dentist since 1995. There's never any pain in my mouth or my gums. Your vision will stay. It will not worsen unless you subject yourself to a lot of blue light. Be sure to get those blue blocking glasses. Your muscle, your recovery, muscle up regulation of tissue repair, stem cell activation, mitochondrial activation. This is all in the science, and it's amazing. It even dominates the composition of your good and bad bacteria, leptin, not to be confused with the plant toxin lectin, of course. So what I like to do is I try to get to questions, and I really want you to think of, well, how could this affect me? How could it affect my mother? Unbelievable in terms of the work I do with the neurologist, Dr. Joseph Uman in Beaumont, Texas, and what he's seen with Alzheimer's, with out and out dementia, people who didn't even communicate with their family anymore, people with Parkinson's who didn't communicate anymore, and were drooling and shuffling, and reversals of this. I can't make any claims. It could all be coincidence. I blame it on leptin, although I am recognized as the foremost practical expert now on the hormone leptin. And people come from around the world. Doctors come from around the world. Doctors host the program. Very different from when I started, because it was crazy talk when I started. And I didn't know I had harnessed leptin until that fateful book signing. All I knew is that everyone who did my program had a drop off of their appetite, and that happened in the rodent studies. A very abrupt, amazing, and for someone with an eating disorder like I had, literally a heroin-like addiction to food, just an incredible thing to suddenly not have any eating disorder, nothing, and it heals the dopamine pathways. So leptin is also the great neuroprotectant. It heals addiction, it heals concentration problems. And again, I'm blaming this on leptin. I'm not allowed to make any claims. So leptin can heal ADHD in record time, brain fog. There are issues with long COVID that are neuropsychiatric issues, every single one of them amazingly affected by regaining the function of your circulating leptin. Some of you just joining might say, oh, is leptin a pill or an injection? Or they tried that, they couldn't make it work, which is why you're not hearing about it from your doctor, because people would take those things and just become sensitive to leptin, like you become sensitive to insulin. So it can be only dietary manipulated. And it's not keto, it's not paleo. It's very unusual. It's very precise. I've made it very delicious and sumptuous. But it is the amazing thing about it is that it does not involve willpower. And some of you who do keto will say, I don't really want sugar anymore, but you will eventually hit a wall, because there are too many A, loopholes, and B, there are too many things stressing the kidney and the liver and setting off cell replication pathways. And so a lot of negative things are happening, and you will absolutely, especially if you're like anything like the woman I was, hormonally messed up and messed up in terms of my microbiome and my relationship with food and my addiction, you are absolutely going to run into a really difficult and harmful wall with keto. And so what I began to do through trial and error, and then continued to do for another 7 years before I learned I had harnessed leptin, and then have continued to do for 22 years in total with other people, 32 years with myself, is to hone what works, what doesn't work, and I'm ruthless. So there are things that I couldn't even believe interfere, certain supplements, certain ingredients in supplements, for example, that interfere with this incredible physical state. On a day-to-day basis, however, it is amazing to a couple days ago get a text from one person who already had their back brace, no more need for their back brace, and lost a bunch of weight, and her age spots and skin tags fall off regularly in people. And she said, wow, I can ski all day here in Northwest Montana, where I've been doing most of my on-site programs for the last couple of years, with a few exceptions. And to have her then say, well, my doctor said my bone loss reversed. And on the same day, have photos of a guy who lost 100 pounds, and then go to a luncheon and have a woman not even look recognizable to me that I worked with in July, and asked her how her husband, that also came to the program, who stopped needing insulin on day 3 of my program on site. I said, bring your monitor, bring your glucometer, bring your cuff, your blood pressure cuff. So he looked at both of those, nearly resolved both of those while I was with him. Now, granted, they did a little prep. Everybody does some prep to minimize transitional discomfort into this incredible state of leptin sensitivity, which happens very quickly once you do what I call the austere phase. And the austere phase is a phase where your body stops using sugar as its primary fuel. literally runs out of glycogen, which is at that point the only way that the body will accept fat as its primary fuel, at which time your brain fog clears. And I mean, overnight, on about the third or fourth night. And your body-wide inflammation goes down so much that the water weight or the edema that's attached to inflammation in your face, your neck, many women are like, oh my gosh, I mean, they're still at the program. And men, they see in their outer belly, just below their ribs, they start to see a little concavity. Maybe people aren't having marks from their socks on about the third or fourth day, lots of urination. They are literally urinating out the release of edema or water retention all over the body. And again, the face, one woman said, I don't even have to lift my eyelid to put my eyeshadow on. Incredible changes that people see. And husbands, you know, picking up their wife at the airport after my program saying, do you have makeup on or something? But more men than ever, maybe 30%. And this is a completely male thing as well as female. Leptin has no, I had to, in the beginning of my career, kind of had to sort of disguise my book as beauty oriented because that's the national platform that I had. And I gave up an incredible career in the fashion industry and in beauty. I had lost the 10 dress sizes. Everybody wanted me on camera talking about makeup. And I gave up a 6-figure career to sit down for 7 years and write about what had happened to me. But even then, my knowledge about leptin wasn't there. It was the re-release of my book that at least talked about it, because that was when I had met the foremost clinical expert on leptin, who said, you're the only person in the world doing this. And so I do 5-day programs. I used to do 10-day, 7-day programs, but this flip into leptin sensitivity is so marked and so predictable in everybody, provided they do the prep, because some people are starting with their body not enzymatically used to the kind of things that I'm going to tell them to do. And some people have some other things that they have to phase out before they begin what I call this austere phase. And so what you have is a little preparation time, but once you either show up and attend in person with me, or you do anything else like my online programs, so they're with me. So the 2 online options being the basic Jumpstart, which is non-interactive. It's about $600 and you do it over a few months. And then there's the Mastery, which involves selected Thursday night coachings with me over about a 3-month period. It's a process. And it's not a process because it's something that takes a long time to affect you physically. It's something that takes a while to make it the norm, because it is counterintuitive in so many ways. And so people simply make mistakes. It's not about willpower anymore, because the effect on not desiring the very things you shouldn't be having, it is amazing. And there's nothing people say that I can say to them that could make them understand how much they no longer want or care about the very things they're scared to death to give up. You literally, once you flip that switch in your brain back to the reading and signaling of circulating leptin, the way that you smell food, the way that you taste it, what you want, the nature of your hunger, it's insanely different. And I would never be anything except serious as the heart attack you're never going to have when I say this, because I was absolutely as addicted to food and dependent on nightly binging as anyone I've ever worked with. And I've worked with many people with eating disorders. Maybe only 2 out of the dozens that I've worked with have been as strong and severe, and in my mind, I thought hopeless as mine were. And it is, again, the biochemistry of heroin addicts and alcoholics and other drug dependent people, including painkillers, is that dopamine pathway. So that alone is an incredible thing. But the neurological issues and cardiac issues, insane. what has happened to people who've had heart attacks, people who were, on horrible statins and doing all sorts of types of pharmaceuticals that were dangerous for them, and being told that their situation was dire. It is insane how fast people suddenly realize that the thyroid medication they're on is too strong. And they go back to their doctors and their doctors are saying, what's going on? Incurables, like certain kinds of cellulitis and scleroderma and certain kinds of vasculitis and I mean deadly, people on their way out, glioblastoma. I'm not going to finish the sentence because I can't make a claim. Every single one and every single prostate cancer that I've worked with has mysteriously and coincidentally been declared a non-issue. I can't remember the word these doctors use when the tumor disappears. It'll come to me. But anyway, it's happened every single time. And it's happened somewhat fast. Not saying it has, again, anything to do with my program. Maybe it's lectin related. But anyway, it's astounding. And in one of the glioblastoma disappearance cases, the person spoke again in record time and got out of a wheelchair. Wasn't supposed to make Christmas. The Christmas right before COVID started, I was at Jersey City and working with doctors, et cetera, and they were all there, and got a call, and the person did my basic jumpstart. Amazingly, his wife was a pharmacist and didn't believe in any of it, but they were referred by a very close friend doctor. So she said, all right, I'll try this. I don't believe in it. She was in tears. And I said, when's that next MRI? And they said January 16th. And the small one on the brainstem wasn't there anymore. And this guy went back to work. And it's kind of an incredible story because he stopped doing it and had someone else do it, and there was a decline there. And so anyway, I want people to think about, I'm going to try to share the screen now and just show you some images. Disabled part. Oh, it looks like I am disabled by the host for sharing my screen. And I'd really like to do that. So if anyone connected with Mark Becker is there, I would really like to share my screen. I think what I'll do instead, if I can find, I guess my phone isn't there. I really need to share some before and after pictures. So I am actually going to come back in a moment, and whomever spoke with me the last time, if anyone's wondering where I am, I have to get what I can show you that image on because my screen sharing is not enabled right now. So I'm just going to take one moment.
Kate, you can share now. Hey, Kate.
Yes. So I'm
you
back.
You can share now. Yeah.
I can share. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to have to pull up pictures on my phone. All right. So now I want to get to my presentation. One moment. I get it up. Bear with me 1 second. I wonder why it's okay. This is what I want. Your internet connection. Okay. All right. Maybe it's not going to let me do it because my internet connection is relying on. Can you still hear me?
We can. Yeah,
okay.
We can hear you and we can see the screen.
All right. Then give me just one moment.
But
I do have another way to do this.
Open your presentation.
Okay. Here is. Can you see this if I put this image right here?
Yes, yes, but please stop the screen share.
Yeah, I can't make it show the presentation that I have. Do you see?
Yeah.
Presentation, yes, and this is not. It's weird. Okay, so I'm just going to go back. Here we go. Okay, good. Yeah. So I'm just going to go through things. Nothing is ever about weight, but if I show a before and after of someone, and there's no big change in their appearance. Sometimes someone's life was saved and there's no big change in their appearance. So I just want you to know that even all these people, though they've lost weight effortlessly and permanently for the first time, it's about their disease process going on. This fellow doesn't have alcohol craving anymore. His sleep is back. He had a Fitbit showing 1.5 hours of deep wave sleep going up to 5 as soon as he became leptin sensitive. He's a professional athlete now, winning silver and gold medals for pickleball, and that's a sport that I am in. So he owns actually a pickleball club, and he no longer has crumbling teeth. He most amazingly could only, as a former amateur, play pickleball for a couple of hours, and his legs felt heavy. And then in the morning, he had problems with soreness and never functioned well in the morning. And then now he can play all day. He's never sore in the morning, never sore. And this is going to sound crazy. I promise you that I'm telling you the truth. When that's one of the hugest things is there's no recovery, and that's the upregulation of tissue repair. It's fast stem cell activation, mitochondrial activation. So it's absolutely incredibly fast. This guy's name is Sam, and his story was written up in a magazine. Now this, you'll notice there's only a before picture here. I was just about to get his after picture, and I do have it right here. But this is a brand new story. This guy was walking. He would walk inside his house and not sit down because his back hurt incredibly. And if he did anything to lift something or whatever, he would be out. I mean, incredibly injured, incredible pain. He had had cancer and had neuropathy for 30 years since then, couldn't wear anything but flip-flops, and now is wearing regular shoes, almost not even aware of his neuropathy pain anymore. He has an incredible muscle recovery after now is athletic. He's off of his CPAP machine. Nobody needs their CPAP anymore after 8 years because of all the loss of inflammation here and the loss of swelling. He's apparently down 4 pant sizes, and he has no more teeth and gum pain. He says his BPH is gone, has normal urination. He has not got brain fog anymore. And he has, his pulse rate went from 70 something down 20 points since July when he did this program, 20 points. Libido, he says, is completely back. Calmness and no GERD, so no reflux. He said he would always have these digestive problems. He couldn't eat anything at night. You can eat certain things at night again when you are leptin sensitive, and there's no more GERD. There's no reflux that I've ever seen. Again, making no claims. Blame it all on leptin, but that's an incredible thing. Now I'm going to see if I can just quickly show you his after. I just took this the other day. Let me see if I can get my screen. So this is him now. And he just said, it's like, he always says Benjamin Button. He is aging in reverse, and he is in his late 60s. And he said that he remembers what it feels like to be in his late 40s again. And so that is a new story. And I have another story. And this is a fellow that I just showed you the before picture of, because I don't have the before picture in. So this is a brand new story. Okay. And this is Josiah. And here is Josiah after. I'll see if I can get this to really show. So you can sort of see that. And it's an incredible story. And in every way, he's lost more than 100 pounds. And, but it's how he feels, how he thinks. That is the biggest thing. And I'll continue with a few more. And this is a family a family story because they lost their dad, their guy who was also their dad, who was always on social media, who was always helping them and always involved with the grandkids. And one day woke up just looking into his iPhone. Months went by. Everyone thought he was mad. The grandkids thought he was mad at them. He just really didn't have a reaction to things. They took him to this neurologist in Beaumont, Texas, who said, you got to do Cat James Total Transformation Program. And they did it. And I don't know if it was 2 weeks and he came back. And this is after months. And 2 years later, his wife did the program. His dad didn't just come back the way he was. According to his son right there, he said, I am blown away. Dad is better than he was. And we are talking better and like doing drywall and rebuilding the garage, doing things he never did before. And his belly went down and everything head to toe, the skin, the mental clarity, and his wife, and no more sugar addiction. Both of them were fond of, and who eats sugar anymore? Everyone says they don't eat sugar. You would not believe the things you're eating now that turn to sugar have nothing to do with sweets even. And I don't mean absolutely, or maybe there's someone about it, but I've never in my decades of doing what I do, when someone says, oh, I don't eat sugar, I'm doing paleo, I'm doing keto. No, you're eating things that turn to sugar all the time. And as we get older, we have these unique thresholds at which we more easily something more easily turns to sugar. And the level of stress, if you're really stressed out, you're releasing glycogen on a regular basis in fight or flight. And especially if you're having coffee, you're releasing sugar and to be able to escape the saber-toothed tiger. But unfortunately, you don't even need coffee to release 2 different stress hormones and make your body believe that you are in serious danger. By the way, coffee does that in most people. The positive studies on coffee were short-term, military studies, very short-term. And so these are more very short-term, quick transformation. That's November, 2 Novembers ago, to January. And her thyroid, her puffy hands, her mood, her period problems, and obviously her body size and her skin, incredible changes there. And her colleague came with her. So her colleague came 2 Novembers ago, and I took these pictures for both of them. Their boss flew them out for after pictures. And Lisa there on the bottom, about 70 pounds down to this day. If you call US Wellness Meats, amazing grass-fed meat company, and you'll get these 2 on the phone and they will tell you they live this life. They live it, and the food is amazing. They love the ice cream, the candies, the custards, and these are not, oh, okay, I'll just make them with stevia. It's totally different than that. There's a very strategic ratio, and no one does it. No one has the correct ratio, and it is individualized between people. But this is not about just cutting out sugar and stopping grains and going keto, because again, keto doesn't do it. This is a heart disease, former heart disease story here over a short period of time. Again, kind of like from Thanksgiving of 2009 to that was like late January or February of 2010, with a clean bill of health, cardiologist sending a note, Dr. Stephen Sprague in Texas, saying you have a reversed heart disease. And you no longer have heart disease, and you have reversed your osteopenia. She no longer has GERD. She also had reflux. She actually filled a page, an entire page, with things that have reversed in her. And that was a little while ago. But to this day, I checked in with her 10 years later. She said, you changed my life. And it's something that everyone knows is the easiest, the best, the only thing that they can do without any willpower. And no one believes it until it happens. On about day 5 of austere, wow, you don't even, again, look at foods, smell them the same way. It's an incredible thing. And I have more and more of these stories, 87 pounds down, and the child there, no longer head to toe rashes, no longer hitting his parents because the candida is done. You might think, oh, I had candida. Look at your toes. There might be fungus there. You might have recurrent sinus infections or, yeast infections, et cetera. But if you go on an anti-candida diet, and you can choose the best one out there, I will tell you that it is nothing like what really eradicating. And this does it like nothing else can. It goes to a greater extent by far, but it makes you freer, much more free, even than you felt on the best days of, say, keto, certainly paleo. No more eating disorder with this woman, no more thyroid problems, no more infertility, no more nail biting. I've had a lot of people not bite their nails anymore. Range of motion. She doesn't have to tell her massage therapist not to touch here or do this or, to her arm while she's getting a massage. And she knows this is it. This is it. That's it. And 105 pounds down in this woman. She's a anesthesiologist. She had what I told her was Wilson's syndrome, and she did my program in Costa Rica. And a year later, she didn't even reach out to me. I just said, hey, do you want to get on a brush up? I haven't heard from you. And she goes, I've been meaning to tell you, I'm 105 pounds down now. I'm off of 12 medications. They had her on 12 medications. And she said, and nobody knew anything about what this was. And I go, yeah, because there's no pharmaceutical money. And so these are a bunch of men, one of the top drummers in the world on the left in a super short period of time, just losing his belly. And I'm talking like, in a week or so. And saying that he would have had to ride his bike all month to do what happened the first week. No more acid reflux for him, off of his statins. His tongue cleaner comes out clean. Incredible energy. The guy in the middle made me cover his eyes because he represents a very humongous, one of the top known weight loss plans in the country, in history, probably the world. And he said, this is unbelievable. He goes, doesn't have anxiety anymore, doesn't put his desk down in the afternoon, and single digit body fat. But the anxiety, he had a heart attack. No more sleep problem. No one has sleep problems. I don't care how bad the sleep is. It's unbelievable because that's the autonomic nervous system that gets corrected with leptin sensitivity. I'm making no claims here. All right. And the guy on the right had people thinking he was anorexic, losing 10 pounds a decade because of a inability to digest after 2 p.m., which was a severe form of reflux. And they had him on the purple pill, which you're not supposed to be on more than a couple of weeks. And he had such pain that he started medicating with alcohol. This got him off of alcohol. Leptin sensitivity got him off of alcohol. And it also made him gain muscle and bone. And I don't have that after, that is hiding somewhere. But it had affected his teeth, and even his dentist said, oh my gosh, if he hadn't been on this program, he couldn't have withstood how we repaired his mouth, and just incredible. And I have a video of him. He's just very emphatic about how this has changed his life. A trainer from The Biggest Loser was on 6 drugs, diagnosed with Cushing's disease. It reversed it, record time. And she heard me bashing The Biggest Loser on a radio show and actually called me after that. And I thought she was sent to take me down or something, made her sign a bunch of legal stuff. And this worked unbelievable. It reversed her premature menopause, it brought her period back. And she lost more weight and gained more muscle than she, as an exercise physiologist, ever thought, because she gained 5 pounds of muscle, which they say is impossible. The reason it's possible is because leptin frees up. I don't mean leptin. People that are heavy have the most leptin. This isn't about more leptin. This is about sensitivity to leptin. So, and that changed completely her muscle to fat ratio. In men and women, it frees up testosterone. So men don't need to take testosterone. Function and libido back in both men and women, and a muscle to fat ratio change independent of exercise that is mind blowing to all the athletes and slim people and the people that spend a lot of time in the gym. And I worked with an Olympic athlete from 87 or 84, and he was in tears. He said, I have more muscle mass, lower body fat than during Olympic trials. Can you imagine what this, I had worked with a Mets player, mental clarity, incredible. This is a mother and no more pre-diabetes, her TPO or her autoimmune antibodies, and that's another conversation. This stops food sensitivities because leptin is the great immune modulator. All of the effects of the pandemic that affect autoimmune, and even getting the jab, which we know just destroys immunity. This is the kind of thing that needs to be there. The working sensitivity to leptin will mitigate, and it's a vast side effect. It's the spike protein itself, whether it comes originally from contracting COVID or from the jab itself. And now that's even being debated whether it was really a spike protein, but it's all interesting. But the outcomes are autoimmune issues, cardiovascular, respiratory, and the whole cytokine storm and respiratory and the brain issues and prolonged brain fog. All of this, you couldn't address it more incredibly than by regaining your sensitivity to leptin. And so I'm just going to show you a few more pictures. And these are incredible cancer story that was shared in the New Life magazine a few issues ago. That's Wild Bill. And boy, it tells you something when he is your friend year after year and saying it still didn't come back. And this guy was diagnosed with a new cancer every 6 months, and it does not come back. And I'm not blaming it on, it's leptin's fault or maybe coincidence. And they're saying, it could be scar tissue, but that tumor that went down 40% right after that thing you did, that program that you did, all of a sudden it's not there. Or maybe it's a scar tissue, but it's 90%. Okay, we don't see it. And it's year after year. Don't see no more new cancers after 6 months. Every 6 months, he had 13 cancers, this guy. And the woman below us, singer, her airway was small and her specialist was in tears because it opened up right after she went austere. And I mean, years of her working with this woman in Hawaii. So she hosted a program and her sister came. And her doctor was angry at her sister because all of a sudden she didn't need her heart meds and had to have her thyroid meds reduced, and her blood pressure was normal. And then her father, 90-some-year-old father, in bed, never to get up again, couldn't make it to the bathroom. And with stage 4 kidney disease, that reversed. And back to not only walking to the bathroom, but walking to the corner for coffee and coming to that program that they hosted at an Oahu treehouse. Incredible, many family changes. This guy, 105 pounds down, 110 pounds down, I think, actually. His brother turned him on to my program. No more diabetes and burning through it like rocket fuel, he says. No change in activity. And I headlined a kind of a fitness event in New York decades ago. And this fitness guy was in the booth next to me. He was very angry when I repeatedly told Rudy's story and said there was no change in physical activity. And the guy was so incensed and out of his mind because he spent half his life in a gym. That's not healthy. And when you get bigger, you're expressing mTOR, which is cell replication, which is pro-cancer. So don't seek to get bigger as an adult. It's not healthy. It's not about that. It's not about replication and getting bigger. It's about cell remodeling and autophagy, by the way, which is eating up your own dead proteins, which happens so incredibly when you regain sensitivity to leptin. Here is a story opposite of an underweight guy who was often described as a chicken wing. And this is 1 year's time. Nothing ever did this for him. Even when he tried to eat more, and he would get on a bicycle and lose another 10 pounds. And here was pure muscle and bone. It's astounding. 1 year's time.